David, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, if anything, just want to turn off the video, just keep the screen share on.
Sounds good. Hey, Matt, oh, never mind. He's unmuted now, never mind.
So far, Joe wins for coolest profile picture.
For sure.
Very jealous. All I have golf clubs in my hand. We almost have everybody who wants to. I want to get in front of whatever you guys' meeting protocol is.
No, I think you can go ahead and start anytime, Matt, really. We don't need to necessarily have a quorum or anything for a work session, so I believe you can just do your introduction and get started.
Okay. Yeah, then certainly everybody chime in if you can't hear me or if we got any audio issues. This is probably the new normal. But my name is Matt. I am from Public Sector Personnel Consultants. We've performed a salary and benefits survey for the borough, so we wanted to just provide kind of a progress report, status report with some preliminary findings. And so got that prepared. What I've got here as far as screen share, really will probably only take me about 10 minutes to get through. So certainly, if there's questions along the way or anybody wants to jump in, I'll try and stop at a couple spots here just to make sure that if there's questions and we want to circle back and look at anything else on slides, or we want to spend any more time in a certain spot. I'll also try to keep an eye on the clock. I think my Zoom account might limit me to like 40 minutes or something, but I think the kind of brief overview as I work through these. So just kind of high level, we've collected market data, salary ranges, and a couple of benefits notes. So a little bit limited on the benefits, but gives us an idea of where we stand in relation to the market. We do this work probably maybe 40 or 50 times a year throughout the United States, and I would say always a mix of doing this type of work for a city or a county in the major, like maybe in the middle of a major metropolitan area. Clients, we've done quite a bit of work in Alaska. We've got a lot of clients in Washington State, where geography starts to be part of a very interesting discussion. We collect market data regardless of who the client's for. We generally like to try and answer questions on your behalf. One, how do we stack up? How do we look? How do we compare with respect to those that either have jobs like ours and or that we might be competing with? Right behind that is really our decision makers. How do we take that information and answer the second question? First phase of this really is pretty close to complete in terms of being able to answer where are we? How do we look? Where do we want to be? That's a little bit more of a policy or a strategy discussion, if not even a philosophical discussion. I want to root it in a couple of realities as well. What other factors influence our ability to we have positions with higher turnover. Got a little bit of everything in terms of the examples to share. The data that we collected. My screen share is still looking good. We've got data from kind of surrounding communities, like communities, a couple of big ones that are in there too. So we used a little bit of caution. Other than maybe size sensitive occupations. So there was adjustments and or didn't include them in the data. Level and above, if that makes sense. When I look at the other element of this, we adjusted all of the data for cost of living. What's interesting about this list, when we look at it globally, the average is only about 2% higher than Petersburg. And so what we get and how we arrive at that, certainly there's some agencies that have a little bit higher cost of living. And there are some agencies that have a little bit lower cost of living, so we increase the data. That doesn't really change the punchline, but I didn't want to say that we're dealing with fuzzy math or anything like that. We've got data from almost all these agencies. We've got data from the private sector using Economic Research Institute, which is a very reliable commercial salary survey that our firm subscribes and pays for every year that gives us data across the United States and quite a few communities in Alaska, so we're kind of excited that to supplement the data where appropriate. You'll see some examples of that. We looked at for some jobs in the state as well as the federal government, where there's either a presence or, well, you'll see it, kind of in the data. So wherever we could get that data, we felt it was relevant to market mix. Doing okay so far? Everybody see the screen okay? Yep. Okay, great. So this first example is what we'll call a benchmark job. Now, we've surveyed about 60 some odd of your classifications. There's data for probably 50, 55 of those that I'm pretty confident in. There's another probably dozen that I would say fall on the cutting room floor, just maybe for lack of data. This is base pay illustration. So in the upper left-hand corner, your job classification is finance clerk 3. Various duties according to their job description. Job description in these other agencies well to try and fill in and identify who has a like position. Individual agencies have a variety of titles for this type of work. They also have an interesting range of minimum to maximum salary range widths. When I look at the right-hand column here, what jumps out to me is a couple of things. Across the top, you see you have a pay range starts at about $47,000, moves up to just about $56,000. Each of the agencies also have a formal pay range. A lot of these, what maybe our initial observation is that your pay range seems to be a little bit narrower than those found in the market, and that's a pretty consistent thing. So I'll bring that up right away on slide 1. The numbers bear that out a couple of ways. We're in pretty good shape if I use plus or minus 5% to define competitive at the entry part of the pay range. And so in this instance, the private sector number is actually kind of pulling down our average public sector number. We're within 5% or about 3% behind at entry. So we start to fall behind at midpoint and at maximum. What's interesting, I think, is this mix of agencies where Valdez can drive a truck through that pay range. I mean, that's a really, really wide $50,000 to $82,000 range. That's pretty wide. Junos is also pretty wide. The rest are probably a little bit more normalized. When I look at range width, there's a few here and there, but what's crazy is Valdez has the second lowest or third lowest entry. We're just taking averages, and all I'm trying to do is answer that initial question. How do we look compared to market competitive? I think my global observation is kind of twofold. We need to go all the way to market average top. Maybe we can get there all at once. But if I were to pull your payroll file, what does the individual time job look like? Falling behind for those either journey level or senior have some tenure with us, but we're not quite getting our long tenure experience up to market. The range would suggest yes. If I dig into the payroll file, I know for the most part that the individuals are also going to be pretty capped at the top of that pay range. So it kind of puts you, behind the mix when I look at top out of the range. So again, just kind of a paper-to-paper exercise of looking at our job description, looking for comparable job descriptions in the market, and calculating the entry, a midpoint, and a maximum. Questions on this example? Jeff, are you muted, or can you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions, Matt, starting from like one of the first slides. When you talk about the competitive markets, is that in regards to the population of the community, or the size of the government organization, or is that both?
Yeah, we looked at a little bit of both, right? So we had population as one consideration. We wanted to look at services so that we had a fighting chance of at least finding like jobs. The survey data, quite honestly, is usually just used as a guide, but it's going to give us some insight into, at least our pay structures and how we maybe compare to those that either have those like jobs and or might be editor somewhat near us, or at least have some very similar community attributes. I remember the most interesting jobs certainly that we come across in an agency like yours. Probably are the harbor. We struggle to get data, certainly. We wanted to get a mix of agencies in here, and then bring the data in and kind of have the now what conversation.
Okay, dokie. And you talked about the data that comes in from the state of Alaska and the U.S. federal government. Are those positions in both of those organizations that you're comparing? Positions in the study too?
Yeah, so a lot of those are going to be either in trades. Some of your positions, especially, and I'll kind of jump around a little bit. Here's a good example on my next example. The screen share is still good. The mechanic, certainly, there's a abundance of job descriptions to look through at both the state and the federal level, but they are very specific. The ones are very specific to Alaska, so we're pulling off of the federal pay table, for the state of Alaska, kind of normalizing that or bringing that in.
Okay. Under the clean annual range, it has minimum, medium, and maximum. Is the minimum starts and the maximum would be towards the end of their career, or what's the difference between the three?
Yeah, pretty traditional. I wanted to show all this data. You're asking me a question, but I wanted to show all this data for the variety of range widths. It pops up again. Wide range of them. Midpoint people. What that does is kind of mitigate the visibility of how wide or how narrow some of the pay ranges might be. So, if I were to kind of draw a summary, it's rather than get on top out. Certainly, I could use all. Midpoint probably gives us the more stable spot in the I look at like the volatility or else. So I know a little bit.
Yes, it does. The audio is getting kind of funky. But last question in this little group is, you mentioned about the narrow pay range. And I noticed farther down in the presentation, there's talks about possibly restructuring the pay range options to maybe put like a step increase and range increase. And, is that the reason maybe that you mentioned the narrow pay range?
I think, I'm not quite ready to go, as wide as a belt, or anything like that. But there seems to be a pattern here, kind of right around 35 to 45% range width. That seems to kind of be the norm. In some agencies, language, that's, 10 steps, or it's 15 steps. So none of this, really gets out in front, I think, of, at least a good discussion around how we wish to administer pay. What is it that we hope to reinforce and encourage? Or is it maybe some combination of performance, tenure, work ethic? That kind of thing. But certainly, at least anecdotally, not statistically, I feel like we show a little bit narrow, simply because we would rather they do that. In some instances, there could be some civil service language.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot. The audio is still where it's coming from, but maybe I'm not hearing.
Let me do a couple of things. What happens if I stop?
Yes, screen share is still on, Matt. It's just your audio that is really kind of breaking up a little bit. But also, while I have a second here, I wanted to ask if you could explain what partial AML means on the sheets.
Sometimes it's where we had an incomplete response. As of the time of this report, we could just kind of last few weeks. We supplemented it with the Alaska Municipal League data. Because they have a fairly robust list of benchmarks where we can get some insight into some of these agencies maybe right give us the full response by the time that we wanted it with data, because they just kind of have salt and pepper from Alaska's municipal league. Also, we've got a very direct.
Okay, thank you.
I have a headset microphone, it may fix it.
Any better now?
Yes.
Shoot, sorry, Matt, I think we lost you altogether. We can see you, the sound is bad. And it is, yeah, it is only you too, the rest of us, at least from where I'm sitting, sound fine.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I've got a really connection. Let's see. Test 1, 2.
That sounds good.
Woke it up.
Much better.
All right, fingers crossed.
Okay.
So, a couple more survey examples. This was a facilities maintenance technician. Looking at job description, we get a bit of a variety of job titles out there in the market. Sliding behind market at entry, and then even more so at mid-range and at top out. But good amount of data, pretty reliable array of data. I've got just one or two more examples here. Operator. This was one that was looking like it was starting to fall behind market. Both public sector and private sector data in there. For example, police officer. This is an interesting one. Did some work for P9, so not around the police officer positions. High numbers. There's some interesting things going on around the state as far as pension contributions and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a dog eat dog every community that we go to on police officer. Not too bad at entry. Movement, I think. More slides, just kind of high level. Again, we use plus or minus 5% to define market. Particularly at the top of the range, about 90% of that sample is falling more than 5% behind. At entry, it's about 50% of the samples behind, but at top out, it's about 90%. So, mid-range, and also then 75 to 80% of the jobs are surveying people, pays provided for health insurance contributions, which is such a big ticket item, I think, for every client that we've worked with in Alaska. That's a biggie. You're right in line with those agencies that we looked at. As far as the monthly allowance offered, paid time off was also really identical to those market averages. So it's really, I think it's a little bit of structure and it's probably a little bit people. When I look at some of the potential now ones, depending on how long it's been since something like this has been done formally, I've never wanted to kind of overreact to any one given year. I would say that, prior to the last 60 days that everybody's attempting to live through, which are just exceptional times. Some type of multi-year strategy to move your market. I think at minimum, especially at the end of the next 12 to 24 months, or a little bit less certain. I want the data to at least reaffirm that we're a long ways from bad spending. So if and when it's appropriate to make adjustments to the structure, make adjustments to the actual salaries, data bears out supporting continuing salary administration, whether that looks like step increases in the language, some combination of the structure ruling as well as employees being eligible for a step. Accomplish this with your current steps. Sometimes if you move to new tables, it gets a little bit noisy, a little bit expensive just to try and land people on the right steps. There's almost always a cost for every single individual. I like to look at a study, kind of, if I take a step back from it, it's really, what were we going to do anyway? What will the budget allow us to do? And how do we align ourselves with our desired market philosophy or our desired market position? What's sitting behind all of this is another 60 pages, job by job. I'll do a screen share of the executive summary just to give you some time that you can see tail end of the executive summary, a full list of all of the jobs where we had enough data that is sorted really kind of high to low on market variance. And we've got all the supporting data. So, however it's appropriate to host, kind of sharing that data if somebody wants to see, more of the detail, it's all there. But certainly, generally speaking, reinforcing hopefully, let's try to get closer to market. Let's continue to budget for salary adjustments whenever we can. Keep people moving through those structures. We're going to be available, at no cost for these next 12 months. So that if we want new pay tables designed, or if it's not, this negotiation cycle is the next one, or whatever the budget allows, we can definitely model some different options that get both the structure and yeah. Anybody jump in if there's any other questions? Anything else you want to spend a little bit more time on? Hopefully our audio stays okay.
The question I have is, I guess we're still under contract with you for another 12 months. So, if we wanted to put together new tables that would not so narrowly define the pay ranges by setting up a step or range schedule, is that something that you would do for us? If that's something that we wanted to do?
Yeah, that's included. All within the contract. If we don't do it, we don't go for it. If we do it, we want to run, I think, a lot of different scenarios so that you've got some options, as well as maybe some different implementation cost angle. Say, okay, what does it look like, to be at market, or maybe at 90% of market, or kind of at least inching our way a little bit closer to market, as well as being as consistent as we can. Really good goals, even over a multi-year strategy, might look like, hey, let's try to get all jobs to 85 or 90% of market. And let's try to get to 90 or 95% of market. Those types of different options that we will map out for you. However that kind of plays out, and however you would typically then turn around and approach, if you've got a bargaining group that you've got to discuss that with, maybe that looks like, sensitive to that. That we can add value to that conversation, definitely model those.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Well, it's a lot to digest.
So I guess the question I have, not for you, Matt, or maybe it's more for Debbie, so now that we've had the meeting here, what's the best way to kind of, for us to kind of spend a little bit of time, what's the meat of this report? Like, you know, I know, oh, let's not at this meeting today, and what's the best way? Are we able to take that study home with us, or the best for us just to stop in and read it?
I believe at this point I can certainly send it home with you. I can email it to you, you know, the whole thick study with all the detail, or I can make you paper copies and send it home with you. I just kind of wanted you guys to be able to chat with Matt and understand where he came up with his data and everything beforehand.
Okay.
Are there any other assembly questions?
Can you hear me okay? Possible to know the turnover rate for some of these positions? Is that something that's calculated or that you were able to gather?
Your current data?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the assumption is that there's higher turnover with these, right? But that's an assumption. Is that something that we're able to have data on?
You know, I'll let staff jump in on that one, but you're going down the right track. Because I think, you know, if we have turnover and we look low, that's one thing. If we don't have turnover and we look low, maybe that's a little bit less of a 5-alarm fire. But it's on balance, right, between, you know, some recognition for the tenure, you know, as well as kind of matching it up with recruitment realities or retention realities.
So yes, Chelsea, that is something that we could get some data on for you.
Yeah, that would be great if we could find if those are meshing. That would, I think, contribute a lot to the conversation.
It just makes a really good business case, I think, too. You know, let's apply these words to reality.
Debbie, can you hear me?
Yes.
So Chelsea, on the turnover, I mean, and Debbie can pull the real numbers, but what we've seen over probably the last 3 or 4 years is problems in the police department, problems in Mountain View Manor, problems with maintenance and trade positions, so like people with DDLs. That seems to be where we're seeing the most turnover. Parks and Rec to a certain extent, but how much of that was a little bit of the turmoil versus just the nature of who we hired up there. But you look hard at it, you would see, but again, cops, Mountain View Manor, our maintenance positions, and some of our skills, like our team folks and details.
Anecdotally, just from being on the library board, seeing the library clerk position below, seems like they managed to fill those positions as they empty, but they, yeah, yeah. So I'm numbers would be great instead of my anecdotes, but yeah, thank you for that, Steve.
Hey here, just wanted to thank you, Matthew, for your efforts on this. Really appreciate it. It is a lot to digest. Look forward to pouring over the weekend here before our meeting on Monday. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, no, certainly, you know, the new normal here, I mean, it's always good. We've been using this technology for a couple of years, and so it's, you know, be happy to leave Arizona and come see you this summer, I guess is what I'm saying, but I don't think that's going to
Well, I'd put you in a cabin. That'd be great. We'll still Zoom, but
yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's an airdrop in or something. 14-day. Okay, Debbie, anything else?
No, I'm good unless there's any other assembly questions.
Nope, thank you for your time, Matt. Yeah, I appreciate it. I had a chance to look at it last week. a lot of my questions, so thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good deal. Thank you all for your time. You guys, stay safe, stay healthy. And, we can go find some restaurants to spend money at or something.
All right, Matt. Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much.